Authorities say we're staring down the barrel of another devastating bushfire season.
Authorities warning of an increased risk this bushfire season.
Well, winter isn't even over yet, and Australians are already being warned to prepare for one of the most significant bushfire seasons in history.
Fire crews are in a race against time, ramping up hazard reduction burns ahead of what's expected to be the worst bushfire season in 20 years.
This year's bushfire season could be especially dangerous, with frightening echoes of the Black Summer disaster 3 years ago.
Australia in particular is viewing the future with a growing concern. Climatologists and emergency workers there are facing the prospect of another serious bushfire season.
Plan and prepare now. That's the message for all Australians ahead of what could be the worst fire season since the Black Summer of 2019.
There are growing fears Australia could also be facing another horror bushfire season.
Long grass and a lack of preparation time has the state staring down the barrel of our worst bushfire season since the Black Summer of 2020.
This is obviously the biggest risk that we have seen since the 2019-20 fire season.
Australians are facing the first dry bushfire season since 2020.
Firefighters are predicting a long and dangerous season. There are fears heavy fuel loads and hot, dry days could combine for conditions last seen in 2019.
Fire bosses are warning of our worst conditions since Black Summer 4 years ago.
This coming summer has the potential to unleash much the same conditions as the 2019-2020 bushfire crisis.
It paints a grim picture. Much of the country on red alert this bushfire season, the largest chunk encompassing 2/3 of Queensland.
The seasonal bushfire outlook for spring is predicting a high likelihood of significant bushfires across much of the country. Among the worst impacted, Queensland.
After 3 years of rain and excessive bushland growth, a period of drought and a series of heat waves could provide the perfect conditions for another season of wildfires.
One of the big concerns is the population centres in New South Wales that didn't burn during Black Summer.
We are looking at a big swathe of New South Wales that is potentially going to be at risk this season.
Large portions of Australia have been highlighted as having an increased risk of significant bushfires this spring.
We're being squeezed at two ends. And this is an impact of climate change that scientists have identified.
In the fast-changing world of climate change, science will clearly play an increasingly important role in mitigating the impact.
Start switching on to the prospect of a fire season affecting your community.
The signs will include 4 categories for fire danger. Moderate, meaning plan and prepare. High, be ready to act. Extreme, take action to protect your life. And catastrophic, leave now to survive.
The Fire Commissioner is so concerned he's hauled in all agencies for the biggest ever disaster simulation to test our emergency response.
Sydney is still in the depths of winter, but our bushfire HQ is already on red alert.
Emergency alert's just been issued for Cowan, which is shelter in place, too late to leave.
The blaze isn't real, but the response is what we'd see in a genuine disaster. 120 personnel from the Weather Bureau, Police, SES, Education, Transport and Defence have moved in for a 2-day drill to clear the cobwebs ahead of what's forecast to be a horror summer.
We're in for another potentially very dangerous fire season.
Something happen, big fire, you can't stop it.